In this video, you will frequently hear the word improvement. It's a literal translation of a Japanese concept called kaizen, which means striving to improve your situation by harnessing the resources you already have. Please keep this in mind as you watch. After World War II, Japan was a developing country, but it achieved rapid economic growth and escaped poverty. The livelihood improvement movement contributed much to Japan's successful economic growth. The movement pursued social development prior to economic development. The livelihood improvement movement began in rural Japan, and today we'll present some of the many lessons we learned. The driving force behind this movement were newly designated government officers known as Livelihood Improvement Extension Workers. And the first thing they did was to listen to what rural women had to say. The next step was to help them understand that they did not need to accept their situation and that they could actually improve their lot. In the 1940s and 1950s, most rural communities in Japan had no tap water. As in developing nations today, just getting water was a great burden that women generally shouldered. The water was quite dirty and sometimes spread infectious diseases. On top of that, women cooked with inefficient traditional stoves in dark, dank kitchens. Women had to put up with working in uncomfortable and unnatural positions with a lot of repetitive movement. They got eye problems from the smoke. Yet everyone accepted this state of affairs. They thought it was normal.
そういう昔はもう台所だって直はコンクリで台所する人ってこうやってしゃがんでね
腰曲げてね
したんですよ。腰も悪くなるし。
やっぱりそういうのをみんなで考えてるとやっぱりこれはおかしいねっていうのがお母さん方も気づいたんですね。
ちょっとこう今までより他に何かやってみたいなと思う。そういう気持ちがあって
全部裸になって死んでいくような当時の農村婦人のもっと幸せになってほしいというのが生活改良基金の願望だったんです。
There wasn't much agricultural machinery. Work was long and hard during harvest, and diet was poor, endangering health. On top of that, many people were too busy to care for their infants properly.
乳幼児死亡率が高かったんですよ。
味噌汁とご飯だけでずっと過ごしていたんでしょう。
農繁期になると何キロも痩せるんですってということだったんです。
何だって体が健康になれてってことでいろいろなことみんなやって体にいいってことはみんなやってみましたがそれからどんどんとみんな丈夫になってね丈夫になれば収入も上がります。
Livelihood improvement extension workers, public health nurses, and dietitians fostered public awareness.
こんなに楽になるもんかなとつくづくの時そう思った。
地域の皆さんに何々さんって言って声かけてお茶一服飲みなさいやってなんかいい話あるとかってそういうね新しいものが好きというか挑戦してみたいというかそういうのは本当にありがたかったなと思っています。
It's important to note that livelihood improvement workers did not provide comprehensive solutions. Instead, they offered useful information and technologies and worked with rural people to identify issues and solutions.
作業員の改善をしたい、それから栄養の料理講師をしたい、味噌作りをしたいとか、ね、甘酒を作りたいとか、みんなの要望なんですよ。教育はお母さん方によって変わるんだから、 やっぱりねお母さん方をどんどん勉強させてくださいと周りがみんなこの人たちを応援してたんだから普及員はただその調整役をしてただけです。
After helping create groups, livelihood improvement workers and public health nurses remained in the background, providing advice when asked, as the farmers carried out improvements on their own initiative.
おばあさんからお嫁さんに、お嫁さんからまた次のお嫁さんにとこうつながってきた食文化、そこにプラス正解が来ていろんなことを言って、こうするともっと栄養があるよ、こうするともっと楽だよと、こうするともっといいものに美味しくなるんじゃないとかね、そういうことは言わせてもらいましたけども、元はもともとその地域にあったものなんですよ。
In other words, the livelihood improvement movement aimed at self-motivation. It was up to the farmers to plan and manage their own activities. And that's why the livelihood improvement movement was so successful. It empowered communities to take the initiative, instead of relying on temporary reforms imposed by outsiders.
まず皆さんがやる気を起こして自分で勉強して自分のその暮らしを良くして、健康で、そして地域全体に広がらなければ地域の全体がアップしないというのが一つと、落とした情報をね拾って広げてくれる、特にこの人なんか村全体に広げてくれる。
Public servants, such as livelihood improvement extension workers working at the grassroots and public health nurses, cooperated with other people and with municipal offices to help improve living standards. As you can see, livelihood improvement workers and public health nurses played major roles in improving cooperation between women's groups and other local organizations and local government bodies. The result was synergy, evident in the post-war drive to eliminate the poor sanitation that had beset Japan for so long. One unique feature of the livelihood improvement movement, therefore, is the way in which public servants functioned as catalysts for cooperation between government and residents.
一人では何もできない。まずね、仲間がいることだよね。
なせばなるろうというそのね、やっぱり後味さりしないさね。そういうね、小さいながらもね、一生懸命やろうと思ってやりました。本当に面白いございました。
自分の集落に仲間を作り、そして地域を動かし、農協を動かし、役場っていうか市役所を動かし、そして農村婦人なり自分たちの将来はどうやったらいいかという、そういう課題を常に持ってる人たちだったんです。いいことをしたいとか勉強したいっていう人たちの輪が広がるんです。だから途上国もまず人づくり、こういう人を作ってほしいんです。
This locally based livelihood improvement movement helped Japan to achieve high economic growth in the 1960s. The spirit of Kaizen remained in place. The nation's economic growth did not occur overnight, but Japan delivered dramatic progress which did not stem from the latest technologies or a massive influx of capital. Kaizen motivated workers to eliminate waste. Extensive observation and analysis at the grassroots level led to a fund of practical know-how about how to get things done better. As a result, improvements required minimal funds and generally simple tools. The livelihood improvement movement started with listening to people. It grew through incremental improvements using existing resources. It allowed people to identify and meet urgent priorities. The movement was based on local initiative. Local people were the key. They did everything from identifying problems needing solutions to creating improvement practices. The movement also benefited from the cooperation of local governments. Japan was once a developing country. We're convinced that Japan's experience in achieving rural progress after World War II offers a wealth of valuable lessons for developing countries today.